Latinos are spicy, Asian women are traditional. At least that's what everybody says. But after dating in both Latin America and Asia, I don't think it's that simple. So, Asian or Latina, let's talk about it. Yo, so it's this really popular saying, or it's actually a song, I think, and it's girls just want to have fun, okay? Uh, and I'm starting to understand why that song is so popular, okay? Because after traveling so much, whether it's Colombia, Brazil, Vietnam, Thailand, it seems to me that the common denominator in all of these places when it comes to the women I spend time with, whether that's romantically or platonically, is that they just want to have fun, okay? They just want a good time, maybe some drinks if they're into that, some good food, a good atmosphere, a good vibe, good view, and they want to be comfortable. You know what I mean? They just want to have fun, just want to have a good time. And I've noticed that I think online people try to, or not even just online, in general, people try to categorize people like, okay, these type of people are like this, these type of people are like that. But what I've come to realize is that, you know, honestly, people are more similar than they are different, specifically women. We're talking about like dating. Like when it comes to dating, whether it's Latinas, whether it's Asian women, they are more similar than they are different. And if you just understand women in general, I think you'll have a great time in both of these areas of the world, and you'll be able to handle yourself accordingly. You know what I mean? But I know it's stereotypes. Like for example, spicy Latina. I guess that's like maybe loud, a little bit chaotic, jealous, whatever comes with that stereotype. Uh, in my opinion, I didn't really experience that. I really experienced like pretty chill vibes. Like most of the women I encountered, like maybe they are energetic and maybe they are animated, but definitely not all of them. And definitely not in a bad way or in a way that can be perceived negative in any manner. Maybe, yeah, they're like bubbly personalities or something like that, but not spicy. I wouldn't consider it spicy or aggressive or whatever the case, or argumentative or anything like that. Like, so that's one stereotype that Latinas face, and I think Asian women also have this stereotype of just being overly, I guess you could say, and I will say like yeah, like a good bit of that is true, but also I feel like I've definitely experienced some Asian women that are more chaotic than a bunch of Latinas. Okay, I've experienced a lot of chaos in Asia. I don't know if you guys like seen social media, but I think no stereotypes fits either of these areas of the world. Now, what I will say though, that in South America, I believe that you have a wider dating pool, and it comes down to there being a lot of Afro Latinas in South America. So they are just more people are open to dating you, and so you have like just more options to date. Like you all know, Brazil has like the largest Afro population outside of Africa. So yeah, they're used to seeing black people. They're used to dating black people. They're used to coexisting amongst black people, and not just the main cities, but the smaller cities as well, the countryside as well. So you can go pretty much anywhere in all of these places and have candidates to date and spend time with. Whereas in Asia, there's like a smaller dating pool. A lot of them they grew up in places where there were like literally no foreigners, black or white, and they have their preferences. A lot of them date amongst each other versus interracial dating, and you just have a smaller pool to choose from versus in South America, like it's just open field. You know what I mean? And in addition to that, I speak a little bit of Spanish, very little, you know what I mean? Un poquito, you know what I'm saying? I speak some Portuguese as well. And I think that opens up the door for conversation, even though it's only a little bit. And I'm learning Vietnamese, but if I go to Japan, I pretty much know nothing. If I go to Thailand, I pretty much know nothing. So I can't really spark those conversations that I could if I'm in South America, and I could have, even if it's just a little bit of Portuguese, just I get my way in the door, and that can lead to whatever else. But here in Asia, I don't really have the ability to like have that initial spark of conversation. So that's another reason why the dating pool is a bit wider in South America, at least for me. And then once again, like in South America, everybody speaks Spanish. So if you know a little bit of Spanish, you can go to this country, this country, this country, this country, and then a little bit of Portuguese, whatever. But you can go amongst all of these places and speak the language versus in Asia, it's like Japanese, Korean, Thai, Vietnamese, and like there's so many different languages. You can't just move around country to country and like still have that wide of a dating pool. And you know, speaking of it being more Afro descendants in South America, I think in Asia, like they are definitely curious about you, but they are less understanding of you, which can bring about difficulty at times. Like people don't really understand like small things. They might not understand the culture. They might not understand memes. They might not understand like social norms, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, like how it is to be black or how it is to even be around black people. They just like literally might not understand that at all. But they still might be very curious about you, but it's still like a lack of understanding, and that's something that you just kind of have to deal with. But it's not everybody, but it exists way more in Asia. You're going to run into that way more than in a place like Brazil or a place like Peru or Colombia, where there's literally like Afro descendants in that country. And I will say that this curiosity does bring about attraction and people wanting to get to know you, but I also think that extreme curiosity can like lead to like a fetish, which can get kind of weird, where it's like, you know, almost stereotyping of like black culture, you know what I mean? They might dress a certain way, they might talk a certain way, and they feel like that's like, you can relate to that for whatever reason, and like reality is like, not all black people are like that, you know? Not all black people wear do-rags as fashion statements or whatever they think it is to be black, you know, they kind of put that on you. Not everybody, of course, but you run into that when it's that extreme curiosity without understanding. Whereas in South America, you don't really deal with too much of the cosplaying as a black person. It's just like regular people just being regular, and it is what it is. Like they stay in their respective lanes. But in Asia, you see like, you know, people wearing locks or it's just, you know how it is, bro. Like, you know how it is. And depending on the type of person you are, you know, you might not care that there's not really understanding of your culture, but I'm the type of person where it's like, if I'm going to spend a considerable amount of time with somebody, then I would definitely like them to understand me as a person and understand where I come from, or at least be open to the conversation or curious about that stuff. And even if it's like a short-term situation, like I still don't want to be around somebody that I'm not really comfortable around, somebody that just doesn't fully get me. Like, I don't know, I'm very like picky about my energy and who I choose to spend time with, but you might not be that picky. You might not care if it's a short-term thing, or you might not care if you're dating somebody whether they really know what it's like to be black, or whether they know about the prison system and like the war on drugs. Like, I care about that. If I'm dating somebody, like, you need to know this type of stuff. Like, I feel like, you know, I don't agree with you being around me or being intimate with me or anything like that without not truly understanding me. I don't think that, like, that doesn't work for me personally, you know, but you could be different. But in my experience, like, nah. And like I said, that's not everybody that's just overly curious. It is a lot of people that do understand the culture, but it is a lot of people that don't. And there are people that want to understand, and there are people that are okay with just assuming. But once again, you don't experience that as much in South America. People pretty much stay in their respective lanes, and there is usually some sort of understanding of what it means to be black from non-black people in South America versus in Asia. I will say this though, both regions, surprisingly, especially coming from the US, money doesn't really matter in either of these areas of the world. You know, obviously money matters in the sense of, you know, being able to take them out and stuff like that, but it's not in the sense of, oh, you have to make $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. Like, that's not really something that matters. That's not even a conversation. Once you leave the US and once you are just a little bit financially stable, money just isn't really a factor. When it comes to dating, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on dates in South America or Asia. It's pretty much the same. You go for coffee, sunsets, walk through the park, all of that. Women are completely fine with that. Going out for pizza, snacks, whatever the case may be, women are completely fine with that. Like, literally, either you could spend nothing, you could spend $5, you could spend $10, $25. In either of these regions, none of these women are particularly, not all of them, of course, but in my experience and who I've dealt with, right? And just to summarize this up, and so I don't have to keep saying that, this is based on my experience and who I've dated, okay? None of the women cared about how much money I make, whether that's like short-term dating, long-term dating, and obviously like friendships, they don't really give a fuck either. But yeah, so money isn't like a factor at all, unless you're just dead broke. But even if you're dead broke, I'm sure you can find somebody that won't mind and will just watch the sunset with you every single day. And you guys watch my videos, I just be hanging out chilling, bro. I don't really do no luxury dates. Like, I'm not saying I don't, but that's not a mandatory thing. It's not like you gotta take me to a nice restaurant or a nice anything. I just do what I wanna do and they come along. You know what I mean? They come along for the experience. I was gonna do it anyway. I was about to go get ice cream anyway. If you wanna come join me, you can come join me, So it's simple as that. And as you saw in the video the other day when I went to go get ice cream, she was like forcibly trying to pay. Like, we going to get ice cream, she trying to pay. I'm buying, I think, water from the convenience store, she trying to pay. Like, you know what I mean? So that happens too. A lot of women are. And I don't know, it could be a test, you feel me? Like, see if you're gonna pay or not, whatever the case may be. But a lot of women do like offer to chip in on the bill. Like, they don't automatically just expect that you're gonna pay. Or even if they do, it's more of an inside thing. Like, yeah, they might expect it, but they might not say it. They will go about, like, they'll offer. You know what I mean? They'll offer. Even if they expect you to pay, they'll offer. Moral of the story is the person matters more than how much money you're spending. And speaking of money, like, this is something that's interesting, right? In Southeast Asia, you can do a lot with the same amount of money that you would spend in South America. But the issue is, money isn't an issue, but time can be very scarce, okay? So the girl I met at the Benton market, if you guys remember, she told me that she works every single day. You work every day, or how often do you work?
Every day I stay here.
Every day?
Yes. 7 days, 1 week.
7 days a week? What's from like 8 to, what time do you start?
7:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
You feel me? And that happens. You can meet a girl, she could be amazing, she could be awesome, but she might have a terrible work schedule. And it's not that she doesn't want to spend more time with you, she literally can't, okay? She like I said, the girl at the Benton market is the perfect example. She gets off work, I think, around like 8:30, but you can only imagine, bro. She has like a life, she has a family. She works like damn near every single day. And so from like, I don't know, early in the morning, maybe like 7 or 8, almost like 12-hour shifts, like almost 7 days a week, and maybe twice, like 2 days off out the month, something like that. That's not completely uncommon of a thing out here, And that's not everybody, okay? Of course, that's not everybody's work schedule, but you will genuinely have run-ins with amazing people, amazing women, and they just simply do not have time for you. You know what I mean? But in South America, I didn't really experience that. Most of the people that I ran into were like, for the most part, they were able to spend time with me, whether they worked a lot or not. They were able, I guess maybe the economy is a little bit better, whatever the case may be. In South America, definitely, I didn't run into people who just were overly consumed with work to where they just didn't have a balance of life. And I will say this too, family is big in both places, but I think the way it manifests is a little bit different. I think from my experience in Latin America, family is extremely important, but I think it's just a matter of like being around family, and that's what is important. Just being surrounded with family. So I've met so many people, moms. I went to Colombia and I met Louisa's dad. When I was in Peru, the girl that I hung out with, I went to her hometown, but before that, my first time in Peru, I met her mom like the day after we met. So family is definitely a big part of Latin American culture, but it's more of, like I said, just being around family. Whereas in Asia, I think it is, you know, more of you have a duty to carry yourself a certain way because of your family. You know what I mean? I think people feel pressure to like be a certain person, date a certain person, carry themselves in a certain manner because of their family. I think in Asian culture, especially Southeast Asian, I believe, shame is a big thing. And yeah, so that manifests differently. So, for example, dating a foreigner could be a big deal in Asia versus South America because their family might not approve of that. Their family might want them to date a Vietnamese person or a Thai person or something like that. So I think that's more common in a place like Asia than South America. And yeah, so family is important to both, but I think in Asia, family is like, I gotta do this so my family won't be disappointed in me, so my parents won't judge me or anything like that. But in South America, it's just like, I just love my family. Simple as that, you know? Now, this is the what you guys probably want to know. What do I prefer, okay? Now, I will say this without getting too much into detail. I think it's hard to say, bro. It's hard to say. I'll be honest, okay? I think it comes down to your lifestyle and what life you want to live, what kind of culture you want to be around, and the women in both areas are great. You know what I mean? I really don't have a preference, if I'm being completely honest. I don't have a preference. But I think if you want to live in a society that's really safe, and you can fly to Thailand, you can fly to Vietnam, you can fly to the Philippines, you can fly to Bali, you can go to these places for an affordable price, then I think Asian women will probably be more suitable for you. But if you want to be in a place where there is a Afro descendant population and an Afro culture background, something like that, then maybe Brazil or Colombia might be better for you. So it ultimately comes down to who you are, your income, the life you want to live, and I think that will determine what kind of women you will prefer to date. But in my experience, I think, like I said, they're both great. All the women that I've encountered, for the most part, have been wonderful. And yeah, so that is my take on Asian women versus Latinas. And like I said, I love them both. And yeah, simple as that, man. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys have any other topics you want me to touch on, you let me know. Make sure you guys drop those comments. I appreciate all the love, man. I got a lot of content on the way, okay? So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.